Before we do any of that, time for our guest today. Now, he is a professional quizzer who first hit our screens back in 2017 when he appeared as a contestant on The Chase. Fast forward 3 years, he found himself playing a slightly different game.
Welcome to the show, Darragh.
Thanks, Brad.
Where are you from?
I'm originally from Dublin, but I live in Oxford.
OK, and what do you do in Oxford?
I'm a scientist at the university.
Time to bring on the chaser. Oh, no, not Sean, not the Cinnamon, not the Vixen, not the Beast or the Governess. It's our brand new chaser. Ah, the Dublin Dynamo. All the way from the Emerald Isle, it's Darragh Ennis, Ennis, the Menace.
Welcome, Clint, and very nice to see you. I'll always remember you as the first contestant I ever faced, and the first one I ever caught as well.
Wow. Please welcome Darragh the Menace Ennis. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. I mean, it's an extraordinary story. I mean, I knew the story, but I still love hearing it, that there you were as a contestant. You never, ever thought you'd end up as a chaser.
No, I just wanted a door for my house. To be brutally honest, I went on because we really needed the money. And, yeah, they just called me up afterwards. It was so bizarre.
What do you think it was, then, Darragh, about your performance as a contestant that they went, this guy could be a chaser?
I think, well, I did really well. I answered a lot of questions, but I'm also very, very calm on camera. Yeah. I naturally don't get stage fright because I think a large part of me doesn't really care what other people think about me.
Good.
So a lot of people who would be better at quizzes than me would freeze, whereas I didn't. And it didn't make the edit of the show, but there was a problem with one of the questions and I raised the problem with the question while I was a contestant, and I think that might have sort of flagged things up.
Yeah, I think so.
They're like, we need to get him on our team, on site here.
So, but I'm just really glad they did. It's changed my life.
But you raised like £9,000, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's incredible.
Wow.
That's just in the first...
In the first round,
The cash builder.
Yeah.
I mean, that's high, isn't it?
Yeah, I got one wrong about Christian Louboutin shoes, but, because I didn't know which designer has red soles in the shoes, and I do now.
Oh, I do.
No, rookie mistake.
Little red bottoms.
So, I mean,
that's the one question I would have got right.
We love watching you on there, but you have had a break from the show recently for family reasons.
Yes.
And for a very sad reason, because you sadly lost your dad in July, and he had dementia. How long had he had dementia for?
He'd been suffering with dementia for a little over 15 years, that we know of, but probably more. And this is one of the things about dementia, is that you don't generally realise, and it's only looking back that you start to notice. But I first noticed it about 15 years beforehand.
And your mum took care of him at home for
yes,
many years?
for a very, very long time. He was in a home at the end, but that was only for a few months. I don't know how she did it, but she looked after him personally. She was taking care of him. And whenever we suggested that she shouldn't, she just said, he's my husband, I'm going to look after him.
My mum was the same, you know, and it was only actually when it became physically too difficult for her.
Yeah, and that's what happened, is that he couldn't really walk anymore. He also got Parkinson's as part of the disease, and he couldn't really walk anymore, and he got ill and went to hospital, and he never really got out of bed again. But she couldn't manage him. He was a big man, you know.
There's a lot of awareness now around dementia, but when you found out, like, that 15 years ago, did you know about it, or...?
Yeah, well, before I was a chaser, my real job, I was a neuroscientist. And my grandmother had dementia. My mother-in-law had developed dementia as well. So I knew it from personal experience and from my job.
It's good to know, because so many, we didn't really understand it. The thing is, when someone has dementia and you know it only goes in one direction, it never gets better. I felt with my dad that I was prepared for my father passing away. I thought I was prepared. I thought, I know this is happening. And actually, at some point, we thought this will be a happy release for him, because this is not much life for him anymore. And things. Were you prepared? How did the grief strike you?
Like you, I really thought I was. I thought, I'll be OK with this, I'll be able to manage it, I'll be sad, I'll shed a few tears, but I've been waiting for this for a little while. In the end, it was quite sudden. So he had been physically quite well, but then I got a phone call to come home, and I barely made it home in time. So it was over a very short number of days that he faded away. And I thought, you know, I'd be able to do this, I'd be able to help my mother, help my sister especially. She was very upset. And I did all of that, but I was playing to a script that I'd written in my head and not really what I felt inside. And I was hiding it, and my wife kept saying I was, and I didn't believe her. You know,
Your wife recognised
Oh,
that,
yeah, she knows better than I do. But I was like, no, I'm fine, I know I'm sad, but I was broken inside and I didn't even realise.
Did you go back to work at this point?
Not for a little while afterwards. We happened just a natural break in filming. But when I did go back to work, and I was put under that stressful situation. So on The Chase, there's a 2-minute gap at the very, very end. The last thing we do is really, really high pressure, just by nature. And normally when I started making mistakes, I would naturally be able to handle it. I'd just plant my feet in my head psychologically and go, OK, I've made a mistake and keep going. But this time when I went to put my feet down, there was nothing underneath them, you know, and I just fell away. And I weirdly got stressed and got camera shy, which like I said, I never do. And the pressure just overwhelmed me completely. And I had a couple of episodes like that where every time I tried to reach for that part of myself that normally is very calm under pressure, it wasn't there anymore. And at that point, the producers talked to me and said, you know, would you like to take a break? We still had a couple of episodes
So they
to film.
recognised something was not right.
They did, but they offered rather than told. So the first time it happened, I said, no, I'll see if I can shrug this off, and I couldn't. So they've arranged for, you know, counselling with me, actually with a sports psychologist, which might sound strange to people, but it's a high-pressure situation where a lot of people are watching. So these were actually really good, and that's been really, really helpful. So,
How easy was it? Because obviously, you know, being in that moment, you're trying to get back to normal. You're realising that things are still not right. How easy was it for you to take that hand of help?
The first time they offered it, I shrugged it away because I really didn't want to. I didn't want to admit to myself that I was failing.
Yeah.
I really didn't want to say, you know, I'm actually not good enough here. I'm not doing what I should to the level I should be, which is a silly thing to do, but, you know, it's a sort of knee-jerk reaction. Yeah. But the second time I was grateful. It was like I was drowning and someone was holding
And actually, you have gone on to become an ambassador for a grief charity called At a Loss.
Yes, so my agent arranged this. So my agent's very supportive, and he said, look, there's a charity I know, would you like to contact them and talk to them? And I did. And they were able to not just ask me to be an ambassador, but help me as well. So they're a very good charity that, you know, are like a signposting system for people who are literally at a loss. So when someone dies, you don't know what to do.
I mean, it's, you know, the title is very powerful.
Actually. Yeah, it's really clever.
You feel like that.
So they're a signposting service in one way. So they've got 2,000 sort of regional and local people who help people with grief. So whether it's other small charities or counselling services or whatever it is. So you can go to them and they will help you find.
Do they help you to help your children? You've got 2 young children.
Yes.
As an adult, you're coping with your own grief, trying to look after your mum, and then you've got young children who you've got to explain about death.
Yeah, so the weird thing about sort of children's mental health is when you talk about bereavement, unless it's a sibling or a parent, it's really, really difficult to get help. Even if you search online for bereavement counsellors for children, there's lots of them, but none of them have any appointments. And so often they're really far away, and we were really struggling to find somewhere. When I talked to the charity, immediately, straight away, they found someone I could talk to.
Wow.
And does that help your children?
My daughter started doing therapy, and she was genuinely heartbroken. We called my dad every single day, and she was genuinely heartbroken. And it's really helped her. She was very anxious, very stressed, but she's getting coping mechanisms, and it helps.
But it's helped you, hasn't it? Because you've now got a language and tools of how to help her to cope with her grief.
Yeah, because it's heartbreaking when you have a child who's not able to cope emotionally, and you can't do anything, and all you want to do is take the pain away, and that's the wrong thing to do. You know, it's the absolute wrong thing to do. You can't do that.
Well, listen, thank you for talking to us about it, because we also, I know it's difficult and I know it's still very raw for you, so thank you so much for doing that, because it will always help somebody that needs that, to hear that you're not alone in feeling the way you feel, that there are charities out there, your charity At a Loss, who will help you. It's good that you're going back to the Chasers. You'll be back to work soon, so we look forward to seeing that. Beat the Chasers actually is on ITV weekly Thursdays at 9 o'clock. It'd be good to see you back with all the gang. Thank you very much, Darragh, Ennis, everybody. If you have been affected by anything that we've just discussed, there are helplines on the ITV website, so go and have a look there.